Hello my treasures, it's time for day 2 of the return to Naxxramas Miniset for March of the Lich King. Today we got cards for Hunter, Priest, and the remaining neutral cards, including some that will be game-breaking mana cheat for OTK decks. So let's begin. The first card revealed today is Trinket Tracker, which is a 1 cost, 1 attack, 1 HP undead minion. Battlecry, draw a 1 cost spell. Really good for a undead-based Hunter deck, which was something that I actually tried out already, which felt pretty powerful. It just needed 1 or 2 more early game minions that you could easily abuse, and this would be a great example of one of them, because you could use this in combination with only using tracking or some other type of draw 1 cost spells in order to consistently draw into some of your bigger key combo pieces for later in the game or some of your key removal tools. This will probably see a lot of play until it actually rotates out of Hunter, whenever that actually happens. For the next card revealed, it is Zombies, 2 cost secret for Hunter, that after your opponent plays a minion, summon 4 1/1 zombies to attack it. These will have the undead and beast tags, which make it kind of interesting for some of the different synergy that you could actually use, such as the arms dealer, where it's going to buff each of these 1/1 zombies as 2 1s instead. You can also use the upgraded version, which is going to be 4 2/2 zombies to basically get rid of anything that is 8 or lower HP, which is awesome. Probably not exactly what Secret Hunter needed. And now for the final Hunter card, which is going to be Faithful Companions, which is a 7 cost spell that discovers a beast from your deck and summon it. Mana Thirst 10. Also summon a copy of it. So currently in a lot of Beast Hunter decks, you aren't running that many beasts within your deck, and they are already running Lothamar. In combination with Lothamar, you could get 2 16/16 King Rushes out for 7 mana and then just win out the game most of the time. And given the fact that Hunter is really good at just doing face damage, most of the time is going to be like 99% of the time. The only outlier case might be something like a Blood Death Knight matchup. I think this card is incredibly strong, especially with King Crush currently in standard rotation. If for some reason they remove King Crush, I think this card probably dies there. It is a little bit of a shame that we didn't see any type of big payoff for Arcane Hunter, but I think they're probably waiting until the quest line for Hunter actually rotates out, because once that rotates out, then a lot of these other decks that need 1 or 2 cards should be able to become a fully functioning deck once they give them a little bit of additional support. Arcane Hunter is a great example of this, and so is Secret Hunter. And now for the Priest cards. The first one going to be Mind Seer, which is a 1 cost shadow spell that deals 2 damage to a minion. If it dies, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. So with this set, we actually saw a new spell damaging minion that prevents you from actually targeting your face. However, this card gets completely around that card's condition whenever you do actually place it down. With any type of spell damage on your board, this acts as both a very incredibly powerful early game removal tool and also a way to damaging your opponent's face. This scales twice off of spell damage instead of once, like some of the other cards that we've seen in this previous year. I do think maybe a spell power undead deck will come into the light, or in this case, I guess the shadows, as there is already other cards that you can easily abuse the interaction between that one minion in particular and doing damage indirectly to your opponent's face. This card definitely will find a home either in a OTK style of deck or just in a pure aggro Shadow Priest deck. Now for the next card revealed, which is going to be Rotting Necromancer, which is a 4 cost, 5 attack, 4 HP undead minion. Battlecry Dredge. If it is an undead, deal 5 damage to the enemy hero. With Bran in rotation, this is incredibly abusable, which is really frustrating to say. I guess they were a little bit more smart about this by making it 4 mana instead of just 3. Then you could have comboed this off with Bran and 2 copies of itself to do 20 damage in a single turn, especially given the fact that Priest does have a critical mass of undead minions to make this really easily to get the Battlecry off. Not only this, it doesn't have that bad of stat lines, and it acts as an additional undead, so if you have an Amalgam of the Deep, you can target it and maybe get an additional copy of it, which is incredibly strong too. There's just a lot of possibilities for a card like this. I think it will probably see a lot of play in a undead aggro deck. I could be completely wrong, but this does seem like something that you would want to run in that that style of deck. Now for the last priest card, which is Cannibalize. It's a 4-cost shadow spell. Destroy a minion. Restore its health to all friendly characters. So this is another upside 4-mana destruction spell, which is insane. This could act as an easy way to remove a huge taunt from your opponent's board while also healing yourself up for 8 HP or whatever the HP pool of that big minion actually is. There's so much advantage off of a card like this. I think this will probably see some play in a Shadow Priest aggro deck as a removal tool. It serves a very similar purpose to Wither in Undead Druid. However, that does cost 1 instead of 4, which makes that a little bit more playable than a card like this. But being able to restore your own HP in a shadow deck is really, really important, especially given the fact if you only have shadow spells, there aren't that many shadow spells that actually will heal you. All right, now for the neutral cards, the first one being Dark Fallen Shadow, which is a 3-cost, 3 HP, 3 attack undead minion. Rush, Mana Thirst 6, Gain Reborn. I'm really confused why they went with Dark Fallen instead of San Lin, which are basically the exact same race of undead elves. Kind of curious why they decided to swap the names around for 2 individual cards in the exact same set, but it is what it is. This is actually probably a pretty strong 3-cost minion. However, the fact that you only get reborn if it's Mana Thirst 6, if you have any ways to revive this, it'll be way less strong than some of the other undead minions that you could be running in the 3 slot. However, if you do have it on turn 6, it becomes way more powerful than a lot of them, so you might want to run it because of that. I just think there's so many really good undead 3-cost minions that this probably won't see too much play in my opinion, even in the decks that want even more undead synergy outside of those that really want to have that critical mass, like the undead Shadow Priest that I mentioned earlier. Now for the next card, it is going to be Lost Exarch, which is a 4-cost, 5 attack, 4 HP undead minion. Death Rattle, spend all your mana. Summon that many 2/2 zombies with Rush. So if this triggers on your opponent's turn, I'm assuming it'll use the mana that you have left over, which is kind of interesting, which means the turn that you put it down, it will automatically summon 3/2 zombies with Rush, which isn't actually that bad. However, if it does survive until your turn, then it could, in theory, summon up to 5, which is actually pretty good for swarming effects. It also does generate a lot of corpses for undead DK, which is actually pretty nice too. I do think that's probably the class that will use this the most, as it is just a nice way to refill your board if you really need to, and combo it out with some of the other important cards that you could later use. Acts as both a removal tool and a really nice swarming tool. Now for the next card, which is Mistake. And Mistake was probably, well, it might be a mistake. It's 1 cost, 1 attack, 3 HP minion that has the all tag. So it is going to be our new Amalgam, even though we have Amalgam with a deep still in rotation. A card like this probably will see a lot of play in a lot of different decks because it is way flexible, especially if you're using different tribal synergy within the exact same deck. So you can actually use this as a target for more than one type of tribal synergy. So something like an undead Murloc deck would like to use this card a lot because you can both use this as a trigger for undead synergy and Murloc synergy. Most classes actually have at least 1 or 2 tribal synergies that they really want to abuse, and this could be a really powerful card for this. All right, now for the last card revealed, which is Thaddius Monstrosity, aka the Chad of the set. He is a 10 cost, 11 attack, 11 HP undead minion. Taunt, your odd cost cards cost 1, swap polarity each turn, which means the next turn your even cost cards will cost 1 instead. So this is the ultimate mana cheat in combination with some other cards that you could easily combo this out with. The most frustrating thing that's going to happen is your opponent playing Evolved Shaman is going to evolve into this on turn 3, thus just locking you out of the game and allowing them to mana cheat all the cards in their hand. There's also another really funny synergy that you could actually do in any class, if you really felt like it, is by using Bone Lord. If you have Bone Lord die, you could then place down Thaddius for 0 mana on that turn. You could follow this up with Brand's Bronzebeard, who then costs 1 mana, followed up by Alexstrasza, who costs 1 mana, followed up by Zola the Gorgon, targeting Alexstrasza, which also costs 1 mana, and then you could do it again, doing an absurd amount of damage in any single class, OTKing your opponent any way you want to, because all these cards are neutral. Now, the polarity will actually swap in your hand, so a combo like this will have to wait, but because you do have a 3-turn clock with Bone Lord, this will be incredibly powerful if you find all 5 combo pieces, which is not the easiest thing to do in modern Hearthstone, even in Standard. I really do want to try to make a deck with him and these 4 other cards work, but I don't know how consistent you're going to be able to pull this off because of the fact that it does require 5 cards. This is, I think, 48 points of damage in a single turn, which is really insane because a lot of people can't actually deal with it. I do think the more frustrating thing is to see your opponent generate this off of a Goldshire Knoll. Makes me wonder if Goldshire Knoll to 9 instead of 10 would actually be a lot better, just because of the fact that there is a much smaller 9 pool and they're not all incredibly strong on-board effects like a card like Thaddius. Though then again, Thaddius and Knoll aren't going to exist in the same game for that long, so it might be safe for a few months to just leave how it currently is. I do really like the cards so far revealed for this mini set because there are a lot of really nice build around combo pieces, and those are always great opportunities to make content out of, and those are my favorite style of decks to actually make. However, I do worry about the amount of mana cheat that we actually are seeing within this mini set, because things like the 4 Horsemen combo are to actually pull off, but if you have a card like Thaddius, then you could, in theory, pull it off incredibly easily, depending on which class you actually use it in. While I don't know how playable Thaddius actually will be in the end, he is a lot more playable than his original version, which was just a giant stat stick that was incredibly difficult to actually summon. Like always, though, let me know down below what cards you're most looking forward to actually using, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.